the internet.
Dun, dun, dun.
Look at us, babe.
Oh, there we are. I don't know.
Is that on Facebook?
Yep.
So loud.
All right, I'm just finishing up asking people to please join so that we're not all alone.
All right. I shared that post so hard.
I'm having my pretty normal later in the evening. This is not late, but after the kids go to bed snack. Peanut butter.
I would tell you what her late night snack is, but that would spoil our video a week from Monday.
This is another one. Peanut butter. But I gotta wait till the kids go to bed because otherwise they just want to eat it all. And I don't get any for myself.
Instead, you get it all for yourself.
I could eat that whole tub, I think.
You should do that.
We, of course, buy peanut butter in big tubs and goes pretty quickly around here.
No doubt. Hey, everybody's filing in here over the next few minutes. As you jump in, just give us a holler in the comments, right? So we know who all is joining
give
up.
us a
What up?
What up? Or whatever.
Not plural, just specifically a what up. If you
Or
just
whatever
joined in,
you like.
we see you creeping, right? So if I get one comment in the comments, I know there's a whole bunch of people in here. Don't be that guy. Don't be that guy or
Don't be
girl.
the creeper.
Put in the comments, hey, what's up? That's what you say. Hey, what's up?
Cool. Tell us about
Don't
what's going
patronize
on.
me.
I'm not. I'm just sitting here enjoying my peanut butter.
Do you have a funny story? You always kick it off with a funny story. It's usually a kid story.
Oh. The only one that's coming to
Oh, dear.
The only one that's coming to mind is just like 15 minutes ago, Riker ran up the stairs. His siblings were upstairs. And he was running up the stairs saying, "Hey guys!" What did he say? "I got a soggy butt. I have diarrhea."
It's great.
I don't know where he comes up with this stuff.
As long as it's not on the stairs, then it's probably all right.
That's happened before. I don't know where he comes up with this.
I don't either. He's your child. All right, we're going to jump in as this people continue to jump in. Put your what's up in the comments, so we know you're here. Yes.
Do you have any good later night snacks?
Ooh.
After the kids go to bed, snacks. I got lots of them, but peanut butter is a good one.
Right. Be that guy that puts vodka in the comments. See what happens. No, it's great. Yeah, give us a good late night snack on there as we jump in. So here's how this works. This is our Sunday night hangout. It's a show we do every Sunday just for like 30, 40 minutes. And basically what we do is we go back through the shows that came out on the Marriage by Design channel this last week. I put links to those shows in the original blast that went out on our page. So if you go to Marriage by Design on Facebook, you'll see those links there if you want to check those out if you missed them. And as we talk about them, I will put the links to the audio only in the comments on here. So if you are an audio only person, then you'll be able to see those there as well.
Perfect.
So we will talk about the two we talked about this week. If you have questions on those, please feel free to throw them out. If you just have questions for us generally, you are certainly welcome to throw those out as well. Otherwise, we're just going to talk about those shows that we did this week, and then we will talk about the shows that are coming up next week, the week of Thanksgiving.
Yep.
And go from there.
Uh-oh.
What?
I see a Lincoln moving around. Lincoln may be joining.
Oh, dear. Well, Well, I'll kick us off. So the first show that came out on Monday, and I'm going to put that show in the comments right there, was a show that we did talking about mentors. And we've had all month, we had Tim and Carla Ragland on with us on the show, and they continued to be on this last Monday. And we talked specifically about how do we find a mentor.
Yep.
And it can be a daunting thing to think about. Okay, I want to find some discipleship in my life. I want to find someone that can be an example for me specifically with regards to marriage, that can help walk us through, the do's and don'ts, maybe even as a young married couple, heck, maybe as an older married couple. And so, we talked a little bit with them about what tips do they have for doing that. And a couple of things that I remember, babe, and maybe you have a couple of things you remember too. But for me, what I latched onto with that was the importance of owning that yourself as the couple.
Right.
It can be really easy to fall into this thought of, okay, well, I'm just going to go to church and maybe jump into a small group, and someone's going to look at me and go, that person, that couple probably needs a mentor in their life. Or then it'll just
organically happen,
right,
by forming relationships. And
right, which does happen occasionally,
sure.
But certainly that's not probably the main way that happens. So that was the thing that stood out to me, is really owning it. And, it can start as simple as, hey, we'd love to have you over the house after church just to have a meal and get to know you a little bit better. And as you build the relationship that way, then sort of parlaying that into, hey, we really look up to you as a couple. We would love to have a marriage that is a reflection of the marriage that you guys have. Would you be willing to walk alongside us, meeting together with us, talking with us about the things that are challenging for us, talking about with us the things that are good and bad, and just really giving us guidance in those things as we grow as a married couple.
Right. Yeah, I think some of the things we talked about were having mentors is important, not just when you're in a crisis state of marriage, but at any point in marriage. And the best thing is if you start your marriage off or your engagement period off with mentors that walk with you through at least your first year. We talked about that. We talked about being specific when you're approaching people that you would like to be your mentors, and ask them specifically what you're looking for, not being vague, like, hey, we'd love to get together with you sometimes and maybe talk about marriage. Be specific. We'd love for you to be our mentors. We really look up to you, whatever. Would you be willing to consider getting together with us once a month to keep us accountable with some things, and
right,
pour into our marriage with the wisdom that you have on marriage and whatever specifics you're looking for.
That's right. Yeah, that's great. And I would say, as a counter to that, the other side of this is true as well. There are an awful lot of couples that have just found their closest buddy and sort of made them a mentor in their life. And we have talked with countless couples where the couples that they really spend a lot of their time around, that really have an influence on their marriage, do not themselves have a good marriage. And so while, the one side of it, finding a couple, can be difficult, the other side of that is also true. Settling for just the people that I already have in my life and trying to go to them when I'm having issues in my marriage or when I'm having issues with my parenting can be equally as dangerous. Because, when you go to the gym and you find a personal trainer, and I think we talked about this in the episode, you probably want to find a personal trainer that looks like what you want to look like someday. Because otherwise, why are you going to them?
Right.
Right. I mean, if they don't have their own, personal fitness and shape, then it seems odd that you would go pick that person if you want to get in better shape. It's the same thing's true, with any kind of discipling. If you're looking for someone to pour into your life personally, say spiritually, then, You should be finding someone who has a spiritual walk that is what you want yours to look like. The same thing's true with regards to a marriage. And so, just finding, hey, my buddy and his wife, who are friends of ours, we're going to open up to them about the most difficult parts of our marriage. I'm not saying that that's necessarily wrong, but just make sure that couple has a marriage that you want yours to look like, because it will. Over time, you guys, you will take after those people that you're allowing to speak into your life.
Yeah, great stuff.
Awesome. So that was Monday. So as you're watching this, guys, if you have questions about that show, please do not hesitate to put those in the comments. We would love to see those questions and have an opportunity to address those directly. And in the meantime, I will get the link for Friday's episode, which Andrea is going to talk about right now.
Yeah, so Friday we talked about the effect that media has on our lives and on our views of the world, even on our attitudes. We talked about this study that we had come across, and of course now I don't remember who it was by, but whatever. It's in the
Norman Lear. The Norman Lear Center.
Yes, the Norman Lear Center. Great study, big, long study that they did. And just the effects that media has had on people over a 10-year period. And it's really pretty amazing. And so we got to chat about that, and we got to chat about what media does, how it affects us.
Right.
I notice it when I'm not being intentional. So when I'm not being intentional and falling into watching things that aren't great. I mean, we both do a lot of like passive TV watching, where it's like we're cleaning the bathroom, there's a show on, or we're doing something and YouTube is playing in the background. Like when we're working at night or something like that.
Right.
But when I'm choosing things that they're not bad, but they're not real great either, it really affects me.
Yeah.
And it affects my attitude for sure, but it affects the way that I'm thinking about things, the way that I process. So that's not to say that we should always be only watching things that are like our point of view. That's not it. But it's like the undertones really of what we're choosing to consume.
Yeah, and I think that taking inventory of your thoughts is an important piece of that, because there's plenty of things that I watch, or video games that I play or whatever, where it's like, okay, this is not like necessarily bringing a lot to the table as far as boosting me up in my faith or something like that. But for me, they're entertaining. They're not, there are certain things I avoid. Like I have a zero tolerance policy for nudity and sex in a show, right? I'm not talking about like hey, they're kissing and then it fades to black and I'm wondering what happened once it faded to black, right? Like I'm talking about
zero policy. Like if it comes up, then what?
Well, I try to look ahead to shows and not watch them. Mm-hmm. If I'm not a cutting edge necessarily show guy. I mean, I have a few guys in my life that suggest shows because we have very similar show watching habits. But like I never watched Game of Thrones. I never watched. You and I had to bounce out early on the Kevin Spacey one.
Yeah,
the political one.
Yeah, where he became the president.
Yeah. So House of Cards, I have to get out of a lot of those things. So, just because for me, here's what the point I did a really poor job of making. I go back to what Paul said about taking inventory of think on these things.
Right.
And that list of things, he says, think on these things that are lovely, that are pure, that are good. And trying to take inventory of my thoughts and catch, I'll be honest, there are certain shows I've watched where I got to a point where I was like, okay, I need to not watch this because it just my thoughts start, going to places that they shouldn't be going. JJ, I see you over there. The way, so he says he loves video games, which I totally agree with him on that. Like Call of Duty, the way he gets around it is he plays the Bible in his microphone for others to hear, which, I mean, that's basically word of mouth evangelism. I don't really think there's any way to argue against that. That's pretty much just good that you do that. Dude, that's hilarious. Thanks for posting that up. That's funny. Anyway, so yeah, I try to take inventory of where my thoughts are at, and that doesn't mean everything I watch is like I'm super strict about it, but I try to take inventory of my thoughts and make sure I'm staying on top of the things that I'm watching, because it changes the way I think about Andrea, changes the way I think about my kids, my job, all of that.
Mm-hmm. No, that's great. So that was Friday.
Was there anything interesting in that article, in that study that you found?
So much interesting, but nothing at the top of my head I can think of. There's been a lot of shift to the blue side. They categorize people as red, which are conservative, blue, which are liberal, and then purple was like the in-between, or maybe the outliers. And they categorize people that way. And over the years between 2008 and 2018, they saw a big shift from red becoming more blue. Maybe
Much
not
more.
Right. Maybe not totally in the camp of blue, but what was that? 78% of reds had gotten more blue leaning.
Yeah, I believe it was 72. So people that shifted in their political leanings over that 10-year period, 72% of those had shifted further liberal.
Yeah.
And here's a really scary part for me. You mentioned a statistic in there. In 2008, when they asked when they asked people in the conservative category about what they believe about marriage, 97% of people identified themselves as having a traditional view on marriage, meaning one man and one woman for their natural lifestyle for their natural lifetime in a covenant commitment before the Lord. Right? That would be traditional biblical marriage. 10 years later, from 2008 to 2018, of those same reds, only 70% of them now say they believe a marriage to be that definition I just gave, that traditional view of marriage. Think of that. That's 10 years, almost 30% shift in what people believe about marriage. That's incredible. And basically what the Norman Lear Center came down on in this study is that one of the key factors for changing people's viewpoint was the television that they watch. And this, just to be clear, because we didn't say this at the front, they're talking about fictional television shows. This is not what news channel do you watch, right? They were specifically looking at fictional television shows only. And they said that a key component to that shift from red to blue and from traditional to less traditional marriage was the television that these people watched over the last 10 years. So when you turn on a television program, just remember there are a whole group of people out there trying to program you. Mm-hmm. So, it is important to remember that.
That's not just the ads that are trying to sway you. It's what we're consuming. That's right. The other thing I thought was really interesting is that everybody seems to be looking for truth in
good call.
In what they're watching.
Good call.
The interests of the blue and the purple and the red, the common interest for media there was shows that are searching for the truth.
Yeah, so if I remember right, 10 years ago when they did this, the only show that was positively rated by Reds, Blues, and Purples was
House, right?
House, thank you. Yep, good call. Now there were 5 of them, and I'm probably not going to get them all. But it was America's Funniest Home Videos, Bones, NCIS, and then there were 2 other Pawn Stars. Pawn Stars was an interesting one because Pawn Stars was the one show that it said Red, Blues, and Purples all watch.
Is it called Pawn Stars? That sounds too close to Porn Stars.
I think it is called Pawn Stars.
Okay.
Is that show is universally watched by Reds, Blues, and Purples, and universally hated by all 3 of those groups, but they watch it.
They love to hate it.
Right. It's really interesting, really fascinating article. If you go over to our Marriage by Design podcast,
That
the
article.
Facebook page, and scroll down a little bit, Maddie did put a post up about with a link to that study, and I'd encourage you go check it out. Maybe don't have to read the whole thing, but to read the crossovers, is really interesting. So I'd highly encourage.
So that search for the truth, is something that's really of interest to people, and something people really are looking for.
Yeah, it's almost like it's hard coded into people to want to find the truth.
Mm-hmm.
If only there was some explanation for that, like a book, maybe one book with several books in it, like 66 of them or so, that could help explain.
I think I know
why people have that.
It's jogging a memory.
It's not. Okay. You don't know. All right, so those were the two shows that we had this week. We had Marriage Monday talking about how to find a mentor, and our episode on Friday, which was called Red, Blue, Purple, and Television Viewing.
What do we have coming up then? What's coming up on Monday?
Two shows this week. First of all, Thanksgiving week. Happy Thanksgiving. So I will say here, as soon as we finish describing these shows, if you hang out on here, I will give you an opportunity to see our show on Friday early, because it has to do with Thanksgiving. So it gives you some motivation to hang out for the next few minutes, the folks that are on right now. So what do you think about that?
All right.
So Monday we finish up our conversation with Tim and Carla, and we're going to talk about how to be a good mentor. Mm-hmm. Right? I mean, this is huge, guys. If you feel like you're called to sow into other married couples, if you're a pastor, JJ, I'm looking at you, or another couple that feels like, man, I really feel called to really help out other young married couples, or maybe you're interested in helping pre-married couples, that's all fantastic. But we're really going to talk with them about what is our responsibility for being a good mentor.
Yeah, I think an important thing, I'm not sure if we talked about this or not, in being a mentor is you don't have to have it all together. You don't have to have the perfect marriage.
Right.
But you should have a good marriage when you're a mentor. But don't feel like, we still fight sometimes and we don't do things right all the time. You're never going to.
Right. That's right. Yeah. And the point is raised in the episode on Monday, and it's a good one, that when we start to think we have it all together, that's probably when we should stop being a mentor or a pastor or whatever. Right. Because the reality of the matter is, once we become self-sufficient, you and I were just talking about this with our Family Friday episode that's coming out this Friday. Yeah. When you start to feel like you're self-sufficient, that's when you're going to probably drive the car in the ditch almost immediately. Right. We're made to be living consistently dependent upon the Lord in everything.
Yeah, so that's the best place as a mentor to be, is to feel like, I can't do this, I don't know what I'm doing. That's great, because the best source of wisdom and knowledge is the Lord. And so having a need to constantly tap into that is so important.
Totally. Along that same line, then, I would highly suggest you, if you feel this calling, then really start sowing into what does the Bible say about marriage. There are so many people out there that give horrible marriage advice, and I don't think it's because they want to help someone be disobedient against what the Bible says. I think it's that they don't know. And it's really easy to allow society's view on marriage and divorce to come out of your mouth, and even worse, be maybe attributed to the Bible, not knowing that that's not actually what the Bible says. Mm-hmm. So know what the Bible says, and don't feel like you got to have the perfect marriage. Yep. That's good. Really good. Friday, what do we got going on Friday?
Okay, this Friday is, we're talking about materialism. So this Friday is the day after Thanksgiving, and it's Black Friday. You guys have any deals you're hunting for?
Yeah,
I'm hunting for a printer, so if anybody has a good printer deal they know of, let me know.
Just handwrite it.
No. So we're talking about materialism. And
that's right.
Nathan Nathan loves history. So he looked into the history of Thanksgiving. So we get a really great history lesson from Nathan on Thanksgiving. And then he also gives the history of Black Friday and some thoughts on where that came from, the term Black Friday. And so we talk about a little bit about kind of what it's become and just the dangers of materialism, how we combat that with our kids.
What's the Bible say about it?
Right. What does the Bible say about money and wealth and where our hearts are, what's important to us. So that's our Friday episode. I think it's a really good one for the season. And
that's right.
Especially with the season coming up with Christmas, and how do we reconcile that with the birth of Jesus, but yet we're celebrating Christmas and doing all this materialistic type stuff.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, Christmas is a big one. And we're going to do a couple of shows starting with this Friday where we talk about various aspects of Christmas. And this is kind of the first one where we talk about, man, how do we keep focused on what Christmas is supposed to be about? And we'll share kind of how we have done that in our family. And our answer to that may surprise you.
Yeah, I think it's maybe a surprising answer.
Right. So check that out. That's next Friday. Guys, we'll give you here another minute or two to put any questions or thoughts that you have in the comments about any of those shows from last week or shows that are upcoming. And also then I will tell you, if you are watching right now, if you send an email to marriagebydesignpodcast@gmail.com, that is our email. If you send that to me and in the subject line put the word turkey, I will send you a link to the Friday episode, which has the history of Thanksgiving in it early.
Oh yeah, and then you get to know it before Thanksgiving.
That's right. So maybe you can share that with your fam. So again, you gotta send me an email, marriagebydesignpodcast@gmail.com, and the subject line put the word turkey.
And then you can get a preview.
That's right. Give people another minute here.
No questions, nothing to say.
Awfully quiet. A lot of creepers in here today. It's good, man. Hopefully everybody who's traveling stays safe. I know the CDC is trying to tell us to not travel, so of course I want to encourage you to be safe as you travel. What? I'm just saying.
We're seeing a lot of family from out of town, so we're excited for that, but wanting to be...
Because they're traveling?
Jeez. But wanting to be safe too. Nathan's 97-year-old grandparents are still alive, and they actually live just a couple blocks from us, and they aren't sure if they're going to be with us for Thanksgiving or not, but we're hoping that it works out. We'd love to see them. Yeah. But praying a lot for health and safety, of course. So that's a nerve-wracking thing.
Totally. Yeah, and they're being given a couple hours on Thanksgiving that they can get out of the facility and come hang out with us, which is good. And
we've done a lot of those, window visits and all that.
Sure.
Kind of Zoom calls and stuff like that.
It's good. It's good. All right, guys. Well, everybody's quiet, so we're going to bounce out of here. Thanks so much for joining us, guys. Remember, check out our final Marriage Monday on mentoring that will come out tomorrow morning bright and early, and then Family Friday on Black Friday, where we will talk about Thanksgiving and Black Friday and also materialism and how we combat that in our family, what our responsibility is to combat that biblically. Remember, if you shoot me an email, marriagebydesignpodcast@gmail.com, put the word turkey in the subject line, I will send you a link to be able to watch that Friday video early so that you get the history of Thanksgiving ahead of time.
Great.
Guys, thank you so much for joining us. We love you guys all. We couldn't do this without you, and so appreciate you joining us along for the ride. Until tomorrow morning, remember, God is for your marriage. Have a good night.